Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for joining. Rob Scanoni here. Um, Wanted to talk about some ideas, and they're only ideas that the board's been talking about. We wanted to get your guys' feedback on it. I mean, I know I put a note out there, throwing out the idea. I know there's been a lot of conversation about it. Um, but it's just an idea right now. Nothing is firm, nothing is set. This is your guys' league. It's not the board's league. We listen to what you guys want. But what we try to do as the board is throw out ideas to try and make the league better. And since I've been on the board, we've always talked about how do we do a better job of the winter league, the fall league. Can we combine it to one? Well, we came up with an idea at the board of trying to do that. And why are we doing that? Because we hear from people, the league starts so early. Most of the times people play their first match. Please put on mute if you can. Let me go through and mute some people here. Most of the times when people say that when they play their first match, it's the first time they play paddle for the year, because we're starting the first week in October or thereabout, because we want to make sure we get the league done, or the 9 weeks done by the time the League Classic comes around. So what we thought of was starting a little later and going a little longer. The cornerstone of our league is the League Classic. We're never going to change that. We're going to work around that and make sure that stays what it is. So the idea was start later, go longer, start around October 23rd for this year would be. You play 7 weeks, go right into the League Classic, take a week or two off, you can do another 7 weeks. It's one long division, one long season of a total of 14 weeks. You play the same teams twice. You play them home, you play away, for those people that all have home courts. And then we relegate and promote after that. There would be 8 teams in each division. And we would determine, since it's a change from the current 10 teams we have now, we would reset the leagues based on the decision making of the board. We would do it by PTI. We do it where you finish last year's fall season. We shake up the league and make sure the leagues were as competitive as possible. So there's a couple teams now that are probably a little out of whack, but we haven't changed those. But this would give us an opportunity to try and make the leagues as competitive as possible. But again, this is just an idea we have to address the feedback we received that the Winter League, while it's good, it's not as competitive as the Fall League, and people like the competitive of the Fall League and look to continue that. I'd pause there for any questions anybody has. I've received a number of notes. Hopefully I've addressed those questions that people have asked in the opening remarks I just made. But just want to pause here for any questions anybody has or any feedback.
Rob, did you say you'd reset the league after the first session, after the first 7 weeks, or you just play all the way through and then, however people play at the end of the 14 weeks is when you move up or down?
The plan right now, or the idea, I shouldn't even say it's the plan because it's only an idea. The idea right now would be play all 14 weeks and then reset the league. One of the negative, there is positives and negatives to both, but I thought a big negative was 7 matches is just not enough to determine winners and losers. If somebody's away for a week or two, that really changes things up a lot. But so I thought a 14-week would do that. And the relegation promotion, we would do, of the 8 teams, top team moves up 2, second place moves up 1, bottom team moves down 2, second to last moves down 1. So 4 of the 8 teams would be moving. So hopefully that keeps people interested for the entire 14 weeks. But I just thought We just thought that 7 weeks wasn't enough to determine a winner. So we thought that the best way to approach it would be to do it after the 14-week season.
And
Makes sense.
Rob,
Thank you.
it's Bill Haynes. Every team would play a home and away, right?
Yeah. Yep. So you have 8 teams, 7 matches. First 7 before the League Classic. Next 7 starts January 8th and finishes February 24th. Try to start as early as possible so that all the clubs that do interclubs and things like that still have a lot of time to do it. The schedule of the matches would remain the same as last year, the dates you played. So no change there either. Still 4 lines, and there'll be 4 lines per match. I know in the winter we do 3 lines, but we would continue the 4 lines throughout the entire season.
So, Rob, this is Jim Irwin from Felsbrook. All 5 of our teams were in favor of this. They all liked it. I'm the only one who doesn't. Only because I loved being done by Christmas.
Yep.
But having said that, we're all in favor of it. My only fear is that we lose the Shore guys and the Bergen County guys. I'm sure you've addressed that. Yeah.
So just to your first point, yeah, you're going to be playing paddle after Christmas, but you're starting much later, so, and it is 5 more matches. So it goes for it goes for 7 more weeks. So you do have that issue. Yeah, there is a concern of that. I mean, our goal of the board is to grow paddle, is to make it as the best league as possible. We already have a great league. We're trying to make it better. Our goal is not to try and lose people. So if we get feedback from this call and subsequent to this call that a lot of people don't like it, then we'll obviously not do it. I know the feedback from North Jersey has not been that great. They have a great league up there on Sundays that starts sort of midway through our fall season, and there are issues with that. So I understand that, and we respect that. And I know but the feedback from the Shore has been we had a board meeting, and a representative from the Shore said it was overall positive. Now that could be not a large enough poll, but it seemed like it was relatively positive from the Shore. Not to put words in anybody's mouth, of course. But obviously, Jimmy, the main goal here is to grow the league, make the league bigger, make the league better, and that's all we're trying to do here.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Hey,
yeah, let me see.
Rob?
Yep.
Rob, it's Rich Daydone from Allworth.
Hey, Rich.
I'm glad Jimmy just mentioned the possibility of losing some Bergen County teams. I'm not so sure you'd lose us, but I go back, of course, to when we only played on Saturdays. And now that we're playing during the week, which I fully understand and our team understands, it's a challenge for a number of our players, especially if the away matches are pretty far away. When I polled our group, I did not get a very positive feeling because they felt that extending the season and having to continue to do this in the winter would be problematic. So I really didn't get much positives on this at all. So I understand what you're trying to do, and again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. In my
right, yeah, I hear that. Some people think it's currently broke and they'd like to make it better, but I definitely know that there's a lot of, especially people that play Saturday mornings. I fully recognize that it's the issue causes, especially people traveling. So definitely recognize it. And thanks for the feedback, Rich. I see people are using the features and teams. Thank you. So I'll jump to Eddie Averses. Has a comment. Eddie?
Stephen Bohr, can I go when you wait for Eddie?
Yep. Derek Bowen? You're on mute.
Thank you. Yep. No, thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. So overall, we're going to go wherever the league goes from the Short Hills Club on this. I appreciate the pros and cons that you laid out. But one question for us is selfishly, the Short Hills Invitational is the 10th, 11th, the 9th, 10th, and 11th. It's going to be hard to get really competitive league play on that Monday night after that. So if there's a way as you're building the schedule to maybe have a bye week on that Monday, Tuesday, I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, there will have to be some flexibility for events like that. I don't know if Montclair is doing their event again. We had to give flexibility to that. So we would give flexibility to that. I mean, the idea is to play the matches, not get defaults. So thanks for that.
Yep.
David Kerr.
Yeah, hey Rob,
Hey, Dave.
from Short Hills.
Mhm.
So you talked mostly about positives. I heard a couple little negatives. Is there anything else that came up? I mean, personally, I think it's a good idea. I play the full fall and the full winter season, so for me, it's good. Any other things you've discussed at the board level that people are raising to share with the rest of us?
Let me think. I mean, just let me give some numbers out while I think of a response to that. Just to let people know, we have 1,800 people that play in the fall, about 1,000. Just make sure you're on mute, please. We got about 1,000 to play in the winter. So it's a good majority of people do both. And it's actually interesting that we had about 100 people who only played the winter, not the fall. We would do one registration up front. The fee with that would be the combination of the fall and the winter. It's $35 for the APTA, and then us it would be $45 for a total of $80. The APTA did talk about increasing their pricing, but they're going to keep it steady for another year. If we did make this change, we'd also look, because we'd have so many divisions. I think I did it the other day, and we went down to R. I don't know what number R is in the alphabet, and I'll never remember. So we were talking about maybe changing the names from ABC to 1, 2, 3 divisions, just to make it a little easier. You know, as I said before, David, I mean, the main thing of this is just feedback we receive from other people. Start too early, end too early. The winter league is not as competitive as the fall league. What can we do to change it? And this is our proposal to do it. So
I know. Traditionally, it's been a concern for tournaments. People are playing tournaments in the winter season, so maybe that's less of an issue now. I don't know.
I think it's less of an issue because a lot of people that play those tournaments are playing during the week. So, and not inside. There's about 10 people with their hands up. I'm just going to go in order. David Kerr went. Dennis Decor.
Hey, Dennis Decor from Beedensbrook. So, just thinking about it in terms of the way you're looking at it, and maybe with an even split 7 and 7 in the front and back half of the seasons, right? I know one of the things you're trying to address is perhaps the fall season starting too early, but maybe to address some of that, like the crowding of the schedule in the back end, right? With thinking of the tournaments and the winter, and there's probably a reason why participation is a little there's a number of reasons perhaps why participation in the winter half of the league has been traditionally a little bit less than the fall. Maybe consider having it unbalanced, right? And keeping it closer to the original fall schedule, at like a sort of 9 matches in that fall window, acknowledging some people are going to be upset that you're still starting at that same time, maybe the first week of October, but it gives you more flex on the back end in terms of, like, there's a nor'easter, there's tournaments, there's dates we want to move around. You still get, you play your matches up until the league classic, and then maybe you only have 5 or 6 on the back end, and you played, 9 or 8 in the front half. Just something to, it addresses the availability issues. It addresses long holiday weekends that you have in the winter, and the big tournament and other events that are going to be, garnering a lot of interest from New Jersey players along the way in, like, the real heart of the season, right?
That's a great idea. I mean, it doesn't take away, obviously, from starting too early, which is one of the issues we're trying to address. But I'm hearing more negative feedback on going longer in February and the issue that causes with inter-clubs and league matches and Chatham Cup here and maybe the MIPL. So that's a good idea. Definitely take that into consideration if we do any changes. So thanks for that. George Foot.
Yeah, I'm adding my vote in the guys that I pulled on our team, that if it's not broke, don't fix it. The way we've been working for the last 30, 40 years seems to have worked pretty well for the fall league. The winter league has been greatly improved over the last 20 years. And and so we are in favor of the status quo, I guess. One concern, basically, if you look at the fall league, we had something like 93 teams. Excuse me, 140 teams.
148, yeah.
So with 8 players is close to 1,200 players a week. And in the winter league, you've got 63 teams. 93 teams times 6 is 558 players a week. I question whether we are going to be able to get 1,200 players in January and February to play matches.
Wow, just so the numbers are, we had 1,807 in the fall and 964 in the winter.
Right.
So, yeah.
So,
and I think a lot of that was that's numbers from this year. Canewbrook did not play because they did an interclub. Fairmont did not play; they had an interclub. And then the Shore and North Jersey guys don't play. That's why the numbers are so much different. So,
well, there are definitely guys who do not want to play in the winter for various.
There's a winter sport.
There are more guys who want to play in the fall than in the winter. I think that's the case in our group anyway. There are skiers. You may have golfers that don't want to start earlier, but you've got skiers who want to take off January and February.
Right. No, that's definitely the skiers. Definitely an issue. And
the other thing is, our group did. You would essentially be cutting down from 18 matches for the combination of the fall and the winter to 14 matches. So for the guys who do want to play as much as possible, you're cutting the season by 20% or more.
Yes, we are. I'm confused because first you said you didn't have enough guys to play, and now
but we have enough guys to play 3 matches in the winter league. But 4 matches makes it tough.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the feedback. Stephen Borg.
Yes. Hi, I'm from Englewood. I'm a little concerned at the lower levels, the state league that plays on Saturday, because the MIPL plays on Sunday, and I can't see a lot of wives letting their husbands play Saturday and Sunday. That's at the lower level. I don't know which MIPLs play on. I mean, which states play Saturday, but I can just see that being a concern. And I'm guessing, I obviously don't know, but I would think they would choose Sunday MIPL because it's much closer.
Mm-hmm.
The farthest we have to go from Englewood is Nyack. Then at the higher level, for the Field Club A state team, I fear I'm going to have a hard time getting those guys to play. And it's not because of the MIPL. They don't even play on Sunday. They don't want to get up Sunday mornings. Most of these guys are in their 20s. They play tournaments. They get injury prone. They don't want to do it. I just have a feeling there's a reason why the league drops by 50%. I think it's 50%. I don't know if forcing that's going to make them do it. I have a feeling that I'll just have a 7-week season that I'm going to be scrambling and I really won't have an A team for the second half.
Right.
But I mean, those are my 2 concerns: the Saturday conflict. I mean, the Saturday, Sunday back to back, and then just these. There's a reason. I don't know what it is, but there's a reason why all these top players drop out, and I think they still will. Eddie Aversa probably has some experience with that too. We're not that deep.
Yeah.
So thank you for hearing me out.
No, I appreciate that, Stephen. And Eddie, are you there? Because you're still.
I am. I had a little technical difficulty trying to shut my dogs up, so sorry, guys.
No worries. Hey, Ed.
I play the Winter League too. I play Winter League at Anglewood Field Club, and I play the State League at Upper Ridgewood. Look, you know me, guys. I just want to play, so I'll play no matter what. But I do like the shorter 9-week season the way it is, and I enjoy playing the Winter League. I think the Winter League is the way it is more relaxed. It's a lot of fun. Not as intense, and I still have fun in the Fall League. It's just different. So
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm guessing that the guys want to extend the season just to get more play time, which, like I said, I'll always play, so it doesn't matter so much in that regard to me. But I am a little bit of a purist, to go back to George, what he was saying too. It seems to work the way it is. If there is a way to extend the season and still end it before January and still keep the Winter League, which I think is kind of relaxed. I don't know. Maybe we could figure out a way to do that too. It's not easy, Rob. I don't envy your situation and the position you're in, but and I know guys want to play. So
yeah, we brought on ourselves.
League is very successful, and we do. But that's a Sunday league. I have no problem playing Saturday, Sunday, Monday, even though I'm 100 years old. I still manage. But I do get, and I do worry that the league may become a little bit watered down if we extend it to 14 weeks. But either way, Rob, that you guys decide, just know.
Thanks, Eddie. And you may be 100 years old, but you're still the fastest player around. You know, we're as I said earlier, we're just trying to do what's best for the league. You know, if we end up not doing it, it's just a proposal we have. So it's all good feedback, and it's greatly appreciated. Still have a lot more hands up. Happy to go through all this. Searching for Bobby Fischer.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Played down at Seabright Lawn Tennis Center, Rumson. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for all this. I'm relatively new to all of this. I love playing as well. Direct feedback, higher PTI guys that play on Saturday. We'd love to start later. We don't mind ending later. The 14 weeks would be a real challenge because of the Saturday morning problem. A lot of guys have kids and sports, and that whether it's fall or winter, we got sports. So I'm just throwing out a terrible, stupid idea, Rob. Is there maybe at some point you bifurcate between some level of PTI and some of the higher guys? Because my sense is the better players are willing to play a longer season sometimes than the other guys. So maybe there's a way to kind of have our cake and eat it too. Don't know, but I know my group wants to continue to play. But 14 weeks on a Saturday morning, it's going to be really tough.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. So I'm sorry. I think I missed you. I thought you had did you have a different proposal there, or just a 14?
Yeah, I don't know where the 1, 2, 3s or ABCs break up, but maybe the Saturdays, is more of a truncated season versus some of the higher. I'm just speaking out of school because I don't know, but I just know that my crew would love to start later and later, but I think 14 weeks is going to be challenging.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, I definitely see that for Saturday morning guys as an issue. I always thought that would be an issue.
Maybe it's around for the Saturday guys. I'm just making it up. But
yeah, that would be that'd be difficult to do, but it's an idea. The 14 weeks still would be the shortest season around, compared to what other the clubs do or leagues do around the country. Most leagues do 18 weeks.
Just letting you know for our newer players, higher PTI, that travel on a Saturday morning is going to be tough for that long of a season. That's all.
Yeah. As I was saying, though, leagues around the country, most of them do 18 weeks. So 14 weeks would actually be shorter relative to others. But we're from New Jersey; we don't care what anyone else does. But it's the 14 weeks on a Saturday is an issue. Paul Tremonti.
Hey, Rob, can you hear me?
Yep, thanks.
All right. Hey, number one, thank you for what you do. You and the board create an incredibly high-level competitive paddle environment, which just helps grow the sport and is just awesome. So thank you on that front. A couple points, just feedback. I do think the current format, I speak for myself and most of my team guys that I've talked to, I do think the current format of 9 weeks and an optional winter league is highly competitive and just an awesome setup. I think the calendar's perfect, leads right into the league classic, break for the holidays, and come back and do the winter if you want. I would personally say I think the men's state league is the most important paddle we play all year, but we do everybody participates in tournaments, fundraisers, local leagues, interleagues. We do the Jersey Shore League, etc. And all those things have been built around the existing men's paddle league. So basically they all happen post holidays. It would be a burden to field a team for 14 weeks. I also think it would be a lot to maintain the intensity. A 9-week season is, I would say for us, I think for a lot of guys is very intense. Every week matters. We try never to miss. We try to field our team because it's important. We're all trying to move up or hold our spots and move up. So, I think a long season will inevitably lead to teams getting buried and an increased amount of forfeits and problems because you're going to get into the dead of winter. Your team has been buried and you're going to struggle to get guys who are going to travel, sometimes long distances, which, that's just some thoughts. So general suggestion, leave the fall the way it is. I think you guys have built an incredible product here. Take the winter. If you want to make it a little different, maybe there's a team playoff bracket at the end of the winter league, something different, something a little fun, but just a suggestion. And again, I appreciate the time tonight and I appreciate all you and the board do. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Good feedback. Herbie?
Actually, Paul just basically said everything that was on my list. I was going to agree with Dennis. He was great earlier, but bottom line is I think the 14 weeks may be a little bit much. The dead of the winter is potentially going to delay things and cause a lot of problems. I think the split gives a lot of these leagues options to do other things. And I love the idea of maybe even a step further. You guys may have done this before my time, but almost create different groups, maybe 4 different groups, maybe a Southern, a Northern, an Eastern, and a Western. They play each other heavy, boom, it becomes a playoff pattern and it moves on. That's just a thought. It may not work out that way, but it was just something that was on my mind. Appreciate everything you do, and the league's awesome. See you.
Thanks, sir. Just Di Clemente.
Thanks, and thanks for having this call and accepting feedback, and thanks for all the work you put into this, Rob. I just wanted to add to a comment that Stephen Borg made a little bit earlier, which is that whether or not the decision is made to split the seasons or consolidate them, I think for the middle and lower levels, this past winter season, matches were on Saturdays. And I think that just again, to reiterate what Steven said, that's tough for, I would say 2 different reasons. One is the fact that for us, I'm at Englewood with the MIPL League. Yeah, we're asking our wives to let us play Saturday and Sunday, right? And that's a tough putt for a lot of us. And then 2, I think a couple of folks also made this point, which is that when you have these events, these club events, whether they're tournaments, whether they're fundraisers, whether they're club championships, mixed championships, just events, our club, at least, I can speak for us, we tend to put those on Saturdays. So in the winter. So what I would say is whatever you decide, I think it makes a little bit more sense to lean towards call it weeknights in the winter as opposed to Saturdays in the winter, because that's really I think a source of conflict, at least in my experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I'm losing track of time. We actually had all the winter league matches during the week, which I thought it was I loved it, but the feedback I got was
and then I felt like this past season for more of the divisions, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a higher percentage of the divisions went to Saturday this winter versus 2 years ago.
Yeah,
No,
because the feedback we received from a lot of the pros was that we were taking away court time that was needed for other players that
you're
were not in
taking
the
away
league.
full time during the week.
Yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah. So I mean, I'd love to. My goal a couple years ago was trying to move almost all the matches to during the week, Monday
Yeah.
through Thursday. But the feedback that I was getting was not great from pros about using courts for matches during that time. But I'd still love to go to that and get away from Saturdays as much as possible.
I mean, listen, we have-
personally, I'd hate to play a match on a Saturday morning. There's nothing worse.
On Saturday mornings, you just get so many people that want to play on Saturday mornings. You get these events on Saturday mornings. You get kids, family stuff on Saturday. I mean, it seems there's more flexibility during the week, but of course, understand other people have different views.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I think it's better to play all matches during Saturday, during the week than on Saturdays. Okay,
All right, thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it. John Russo or Blake Anderson?
It's Blake. Thanks.
Blake.
I just wanted to talk real quick about the guys in the area, Chatham area, Fairmont guys. Feedback I've gotten from it. I think the biggest thing is most guys were not in favor because they enjoy the competitive fall and the more recreational, optional winter. I did hear, I think it was Derek Bowen bring up the Short Hills Invitational. Might be an issue. There's also President's Day weekend towards the end of February, so that's another thing. And I think one of the big things that at least I heard from guys is by making it longer and offering more matches, is it going to dilute the competitive nature of each match, given that maybe some of the better guys or your stronger guys on teams are not able to play every week, kind of echoing what some issues in Winter League currently are. Meaning you don't know who's going to play, if it's the top guys you have each week kind of thing. And then just to touch briefly on the pro, director of rackets type of thing. I think club court usage is going to be a big issue. 14 Saturdays. I know people have mentioned about tournaments, but not only just Saturdays, but, giving up courts just to people who are playing on the teams and not to other members that want to play recreational. I know I have a large program, so speaking for myself, but I'm sure there's several other clubs out there that have large programs. And if Monday night, Tuesday night, Saturday mornings are taken for 14 weeks, I think that's going to start to become a club issue also, not just the issues we talked about. So just wanted those to be aware of how clubs are viewing this also.
All right, Blake, thanks. Bite my tongue. Bill Miko.
Hey guys, Rob, thank you again for this and for everything. My comment is actually more of a question. Is there a timeline for which whatever decision is made to be made, like as opposed to end of August? Would it be something that's done before the summer? I'm speaking from someone who is, planning different types of clinics, different types of things on the different weeknights, and knowing which nights my teams are in there, are playing, or which nights they're not, which Saturdays, and where my teams lie helps me plan the rest of my schedule. Is there a timeline on this decision?
Bill, the board is never afraid to make quick decisions. Sometimes it's the wrong decision, but we'll make a quick decisions and you'll know within the next month.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Humphrey, did you have a question? No? Anybody? I know there's some people on the phone that can't raise their hand in Teams. Is there anyone on the phone that has that's not on using Teams have a question or comment?
Yeah. Hi, Rob. It's Pete Majorano from Fairmont. Thanks for going to the guys on the phone, and thanks to the board, and for all you guys do. You run a fantastic league. A lot of maybe some of the feedback that I had gotten just going around and in matches that I've been playing, definitely chatting guys up and getting a feel for how people are viewing the potential changes. And I really didn't, the feedback that, I got was, people universally kind of feel like that the league is terrific the way it is, that the fall league is it's run fantastically, and then they like the option of either playing in the winter or not playing, and having it be their call. So that's basically the feedback that I just wanted to share. But that sort of the it's not broken, why.
Yeah, mostly everyone who came up to me always complained about starting too early. Any too early must not be on this call, because there's a lot of those people, but they're not on this call, because those are the people we were trying to make happier. We thought that was more people. Any other comments, feedback?
Rob,
Yep.
George from Essex Hunt.
Hey, George.
One of the issues we have is that multiple teams having to play on Saturday. With so many more divisions, aren't we going to, some of those newer programs, aren't they going to have like 3 teams on Saturday, which is, I would say, we could never do that. 2's really tough to do.
Would you say newer teams?
Younger or least experience,
yeah.
The Saturday morning teams.
One of the things we're looking to implement, and thank you for being my setup man, George.
Uh-oh.
No, I think this is good. And I wanted to raise this when we were done with talking about changing it to the 14-week season was, we've historically the league has always taken a new team and put them at the bottom, even if they were, all 5 PTIs. They put them at the bottom. It's kind of from an administrative point of view, it's a very easy thing to do because you just add on more teams at the bottom. But it's really not fair to do that, especially if the team is very good that's come in. Deal came in a few years ago and they were killing people, and it's who wants to get up on Saturday morning and be done in 15 minutes? No one on either side does. So what we're thinking about doing, and probably more thinking, and we'll probably do this, especially now that we have some data about players being PTI, is if a new team comes in and they're we're going to try and place them where they should be, so they don't have to work their way up from the bottom and trounce people and waste people's time. What's that going to do? That's probably going to piss off the team that thought they were going to move up and they're not going to move up or something like that. But I think it's the betterment of the league if we look to do that and place new teams where they should be. So that's one thing we'll probably end up doing starting next year. But I agree on the Saturday mornings. As I said before, I'd love to go away from Saturday mornings, move things more during the week. But there's resistance to that also. It's a bottom line thing here. There's no way we're going to make everyone happy. We're just trying to make at least a significant majority of the people happy by making these changes.
Hey, Rob, Jason Spitz from
Hey,
Orange Lawn. Just a question. This may sound crazy. I just don't know if it's ever been given any thought. And a lot of people, paddle beats up your body, but there are also a lot of people that like to play a lot. Is it ever been a consideration to even think about building in 1 or 2 double headers into the schedule and putting them out far enough in advance for people to play? Maybe people will play both matches. Maybe they'll just have enough people to play twice to give yourself a little more breath without, screwing up, a whole 14-week season. It's obviously easier on a Saturday when you have a longer window than on a weeknight, but even still, just throwing it out, food for thought.
That's an interesting idea. I don't know if I could play 2 tough 3-set matches in one night anymore. But it's an interesting idea. As I've always said, people can always pre-play. So if people want to get organized and pre-play, double headers, that's fine. But I think I personally would struggle with playing 2 tough matches night to night. I'd be shot for a week. So I don't know if I want to have other people do that, but it doesn't stop other people from doing that.
Hey, Rob.
Yep.
Sorry, Blake again. I just have a member who's having trouble, so he just shot me a question.
Sure.
The guys who are mentioning that we start too early and end too early, are they players in the Winter League? Is the question. It seems that if they think we end too early, they're not taking advantage of the current Winter League, which gives them a second opportunity. Is the question, or?
I think the Winter League is. This is more probably ABC players, and the Winter League is it's got a lot more competitive. And we've done a lot of work in making it more competitive. I think it's more for it's probably a combination. To answer your question directly, I think it's a combination of people who do play the winter. I'm sorry, and don't play it. So it's a combination of both. That's what I think.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
But I must admit, I think the board has done a very good job, not to pat ourselves on the back, of trying to make the winter league as close as possible to what the fall league does. We're doing relegation promotion like we do in the fall. We're trying to line up the teams better. So maybe if we continue with the 9-9, maybe the fall will continue to grow. I mean, the fall's doubled. I mean, well, everything's doubled in paddle, right? But I mean, the fall's got a lot more interest than it has in years past too.
Hey, Rob, Adrian Buckley here, Morristown Field Club. Just on that question that Blake put out there with the Winter League, because I think some of the guys that are talking about starting too late, I mean, I've had conversations with them as well. I think what happens is, they would prefer to have the 7-7 season and kind of know what your matches are going to be, right? So it's going to be a good match every time you go out. The teams are even in that particular league. I think what the problem with the Winter League has been is that it's unpredictable. Some weekends some weeks you go out and you play somebody who you just roll 0-0, and the next week you go out and you get rolled 0-0 because of how disparate the sort of teams were. So maybe that's improved in the Winter League, but I think when I first heard of splitting the league up to be 7-7, and it's it's 8 good teams, and you're going to have a good match every week. That sounded pretty good to me, and to most of the guys on our team. Just my comment on that. The one question I did have, you mentioned something about the promotion relegation, 2 going up, 1 going up 2, and 2 going up 1 league, and so on. In an 8-team league, does that mean 6 teams are moving?
No. The 8 teams, we would change it. We would do the top team, bottom team move down 2, the second place, second to bottom move down 1. So just 4 of the 8 teams would be moving.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I hear you on the Winter League. We have tried to level that out as much as possible. It would be great to get more guys playing in that. And like I said, it has grown, but we have tried to level it out and tried to make the matches better. And Adrian brings up a good point. One of the benefits that I definitely should have mentioned before is that with 8 teams in your division, the PTIs. I know we're not supposed to talk about PTIs, but the PTIs of the 8 teams are going to be more or less the same. So every week we're going to have a good match. I know, with 10 teams, it's usually those 9th and 10th. There's 2 teams that aren't as good, and they usually have a tough time. But with 8 teams, you have a lot. I think you have a lot better matches because you're going to be a lot better aligned in terms of abilities. So I think that's to me was a big benefit of doing the 8 teams also, and something I should have mentioned earlier. So thanks, Adrian, for bringing that up. Anything? I'm here for a while. Any other comments or anything? I'm here as long as you guys want to be here.
Rob, just George Foot again. Just a thought on the Winter League. It has gotten better because it's just been a matter of years to start sorting teams out by who goes up and who drops. But if that's not enough, then one thought might be to base the Winter League divisions on the fall standings rather than on the previous winter standings.
Yeah, I mean, that's an ideal world. I'd love to be able to do that. The problem is we have a lot of teams that don't play, a lot of players that don't play. I mean, an ideal world to me would be, I know everybody who's playing in the Winter League, then we develop the schedule. Then we develop who's in what league. And, we could place teams by PTI or whatever. But I had people registering for the fall league after the fall league ended because they had some delayed matches to play. So it's really hard to know who's going to be on what team. So, an Essex Hunt 3 team in the fall is completely different than an Essex Hunt 3 team in the winter.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really hard to tell that. I was trying to figure out the other day, based on the final PTIs of all of our 1,800 players, how that would stack up and how we would line teams up. And it's still difficult to do because you don't know who's going to be playing, even though they might be registered, but they might not play match. And the one, top player, for example, Blake at Fairmont, if he plays, that changes the whole dynamic of their team. If he doesn't play, it's a much weaker team. So knowing who's going to play and all that stuff it's really hard to determine. So I think the fall league is relatively easy to do as far as relegation promotion because it's more or less consistent. The winter league it's tough. So that's where we really need feedback from people. Hey, we've added 3 new players. They're all, great players or whatever. And then we can make some manual adjustments accordingly because we really want all the divisions, whether it's 9-9, 7-7, 10 teams, 8 teams, whatever it may be. We really want all the divisions to be as tight as possible in terms of PTI. So I guess what I'm saying is out loud, the more feedback we get from you guys, the better we can make your matches. And especially if you, sorry, I know someone's trying to jump in. Let me just say one more. No worries. When you have new people join, please let us know if they're like, if they played Division I tennis or they're a great tennis player or whatever. Please let us know what you think their PTI should be because it would solve so many issues. We just need better communication from you guys. I don't care who it is. Just let us know if you have a new player and we need to assign them a PTI. Please do that because that would really help things out. All right, sorry, who was trying to say something?
Yeah, it was Jason from Arkansas.
Oh, sorry.
Just to speak to the Winter League for a moment, because I don't remember where we may have won the A or we came in second. We were right up there. We had most of our guys playing, which historically we haven't in the past, and the feedback, I think generally is most of the guys of our top guys want to play and enjoy playing. They just, I think it was to Adrian's point, they don't know if they're going to show up against another club and play guys that are fairly comparable to what they're used to seeing in the fall, or whether they're going to see guys that are significantly less. And historically, I think there's been a perception in the, 10 years I've been around that the Winter League is, just not real and nobody plays. And, certainly for the lower guys and even the middle level guys, it's kind of like when everyone's getting into the prime of the rhythm of their game, because it takes a couple months to get into it. So I think it's a great time to play. I guess my question is there a way for the league to do a survey or query or get a sense from a lot of the teams that play in the Ferguson League in the fall, regardless of whether it's officially one league or there's, one season of 14 matches or we keep it the way it is, how many of those teams have guys that actually would play if they knew they were going to get matches against the same level of competition they had in the fall? Because it doesn't seem to be a tournament issue anymore. So that's
Correct.
I guess the question. I think from Orange Lawn, most guys, not all, but most would play consistently if they knew they were getting those same matches. And
well, that was the
there's
idea.
A bunch of teams that might feel the same.
Yeah, that was the idea of having one long season. You would have consistent matches. You would have a tight band of PTI. You'd have 8 teams. So that was the idea of doing that. The Winter League issue that Adrian brought up, that Jason just talked about, that's really, I and I could be wrong here. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's more of an A-B issue. I think going down, I think the matches are a lot tighter. I think because some of the A guys do play, some of them don't play, that creates an issue. And I know I did it last year playing captain in an A team last year. I called up, hey, are you playing this week? Or if you're playing, I'll get this guy, type of thing. And of course, that doesn't happen in fall league. But I think that's more of an A-B situation than going down the ranks in the Winter League.
Yeah,
but,
I would agree.
Yeah, but we're trying to. We'll look at if we go ahead with the Winter League again, we'll look at that and try and level out the leagues even more than what we've done in the past to make it as competitive as possible. So, anything else from anybody? Still got 49 people. Jimmy Irwin raised his hand. I love that Jimmy Irwin is using technology. This is a great day.
Dude, I'm so good at this.
This is
No,
amazing.
I was just gonna say about the Winter League. It's to his point. You got to call up the other captain and say who you playing.
Yeah.
This week, because the Winter League is that way, and it's like, okay, is Sven and Mick playing, or is it going to be me and Owen playing? And if you just communicate that with the other guy, they'll go in eyes wide open.
Yep.
And they can gauge it accordingly. If you want to win the league, okay, play your best guys. If you want to have good matches, you're going to dummy it down. Yep. So to me, that's the Winter League, and you have to just communicate that.
Yeah, that's really, and like I said, I think that's an A problem, A Division A issue.
100%.
And I think going down, I think it's just as correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's just as competitive because I see it from my guys in Morris County. Going down, they're just as competitive as the fall and winter. To them are one long season. They really can't tell the difference. So I really think it's an A/B issue there. So thanks, Jimmy.
Hey, Rob, it's Rich Dadone again. Just one quick thing. I know you get a lot of feedback from the different clubs throughout the season. One of the things that we seem to hear from the other captains, and frankly, I get it from some of my guys, is the distance issue. And if we're playing Shore or Beansbrook, or and if I got guys that are in the city that are working and they got to figure out how they're going to get a train out to wherever, that's the type of stuff that we deal with on our side. I guess it's more of a question than anything else. Do you hear much of that from different captains? And I'm not sure they're complaints as much as they are more comments.
Yeah. I hear that all the time. I hear that all the time about people from the shore having to go to Indian Trail and vice versa. I hear that. We hear that all the time. There's no way. I mean, I've heard people come up to me, why do we have the shore in the league? It's so far. It's a pain in the ass. It's just, we're not kicking anybody out of the league, especially for that reason. I hear that all the time, but I'm not sure what to do about it. I think people just have to suck it up, type of thing. I'm not sure what else to do about it. I mean, if I'm at Indian Trail or Harworth, and I have to drive down to Bayhead, oh my God, on a Monday night or a Tuesday or a Saturday morning, I mean, that sucks.
Yeah.
But it's not different than, I talk to guys in Boston, talk to guys in Chicago and Philly. They're driving even longer distances. We have we're pretty tight relative to other people, other leagues around the country. Not that I care what other people do. Not that it matters, but I would not be happy. I know when I have to, even drive down to Shore, I'm like, oh, all right, well, whatever. But I'm in the middle of the state, so it's not too bad. So I'm definitely empathetic to that, and I definitely hear a lot about it. I don't know what we would do to change anything, because we're trying to grow the league and make the league better and bigger, and so I'm not sure what they're doing. Go ahead, Rich. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, no worries. I don't think you can do anything about it. I think, you sign up for it, and that's the way it's always been for us. That's the deal. We got to go, we got to travel. That just suck it up, and that's the way it is. I guess just listening to most of these comments, and I know you guys are going to weigh all of these. I think if there's a way to enhance the Winter League in some way, shape, or form, that to me might be a better way to go than making this into a longer season. And just based on the disparity of 1,800 playing in the fall and 1,000 playing in the winter, if there was a way to shore up the winter and not affect the fall, I think that might be a consideration for you folks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We have definitely done a lot of work to try and make the Winter League like the Fall League, and it's getting better every year. So if we go down that path, we'll definitely continue to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Got a question here. In terms of total matches for the league, is less than 14 on the table? And how would you do? I mean, how would you do
That's
that?
it. Yeah, that's just it's Dennis. That's
I'd
just
say no.
obviously it's it's unbalanced, right? But
Yeah.
it kind of a you have to trying to solve for the combination. You have to figure out what you're going to do on the back end and keeping that participation up and dealing with the Saturday stuff and the kind of cramped life schedules that occur in the winter plus tournaments, etc.
Yeah.
That's all.
It would be difficult to do less than 14 matches, I think. Yeah, I'm not a fan of playoffs either. I know some people mentioned that to me. I just think I don't want a 9-week, a 14-week, a 12-week, an 18-week season come down to the one match. And if one team's got their top 2 players away, then it's a kind of a waste. So I'm not a big fan of playoffs. So we're not looking to go down that road. But I don't think we could do less than 14 weeks. Anything else? What we're not doing is changing anything to do about the League Classic. The only thing we want to do is try and make that better and better. I thought last year's was really good, and we got some notes from how to make it better. So always happy to take feedback on that. A couple of years ago, we did what we called the Winter Classic, even though we played in April. We may do that again. Quite frankly, it's just a lot of work. And after the League Classic, the board's pretty burnt out from that. But we'll look to do that again. Since I have 46 people, one of the other issues that we have, if you guys have a couple more minutes, I remember when I first started in this league, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, and I don't know if Jimmy's still on the phone. How do we handle default matches? The issue is, do you have to put names in there if you default, win or loser? The issue is, if you have your 4th team of C wins by default, I mean, so those guys never played, can they go down to your 2nd team, which might be in G, and play that match? So it's still in order. And I don't think that's the right thing to do. So we have been talking, and probably will look to implement that. If you default, you have to put 4 names on the website.
Rob, what about putting something in place for that, where if that is the case, those players can only move down like a certain amount, like 1 league or 2 leagues or something like that? Because, I think it is, if you are, like the example you gave, a court 4 and the other guys default, like, you don't want to not play that week, right? I mean, you still want to get a game. And by the way, if you go from A4 to B1, you're probably getting a tougher match at B1 anyway, right? So it's not like they're going to go down to B1 and roll the guys.
Yeah, that's an unusual example, though.
Yeah, but I think most leagues work like that, right? I mean,
most teams don't have A, B, C, B, C, D type of thing. It's usually a kind of a drop.
Yeah.
So it makes a good size impact. Even if you went from A to C, that's a good size drop.
Yeah. So I think if you put some kind of limit on how many leagues you can drop down to go and play, right? So if you've got an A and then a G, that you're probably right. That's not really fair for those guys to go down and play.
There is a way on the system, and many other leagues around the country do this, where you freeze players. So you say, okay, of your, 4 of your 10 guys who play in C, they can't drop down and play in a different league. So there is that issue. But back to the other issue is default. Do we want to have people enter in names? And it does suck because you can't. That means that team is not playing. That's a huge drawback of it. But I think it was. Jimmy, you still on the phone? Or Ray Cross is there? I say, Ray, wasn't that the rule back 15 years ago, that if you defaulted, you had to still put names in?
Can you hear me, Rob?
Yep. Thanks, Ray.
No, honestly, I don't know. I don't think you had to put names in, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I feel like you should now.
Yeah.
But I think it applies more to just defaults as well, right? If somebody is traveling for business on the Monday and can't play, but their other team plays on a Tuesday, can they play for the other team? So I think it's not just for defaults, right?
Yeah, that's good. That goes back to freezing people and having people like an A guy playing for your C team. Is that when he's heads and shoulders better than everyone else? Is that the right thing to do?
Hey, Rob, I know I'm coming in late, but I just
Mhm.
can I put my 2 cents in?
Sure, of course.
I'm kind of in the Jimmy Irwin camp where I like what we used to do, and I would love to leave it the same. I think and I've been texting with some pros here and there during this meeting. I think after New Year's, that's when we do all our member guests, our club championships, all that stuff. It's all going to get watered down if guys are going to be like trying to decide to play league matches or that other stuff. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I whatever. I'll do whatever everybody wants to do, but like I'd hate to miss like the Montclair Tri-Club member guest because there's a league match going on, like something like that.
How do you handle that right now with a Winter League match?
Well, I don't play the Winter League, so
okay.
I only play the 9 weeks in the whatever we call it, our state league, and I do play MIPL, but I play very sparingly. I'm just worried about crossing over and guys watering down events with that way. I mean, I love the idea. I just think it's going to be, you're going to have guys, it's tough to play Saturday, Sunday, whatever it is.
Ray, I think if we did this 15 years ago, no one would be blinking an eye at it. It's just the way it would be.
Yeah,
I think
I hear you.
I kind of wish we did it 15 years ago because I think
Right.
it's the right thing to do for the league. But obviously, other things have happened. MIPL, Chatham Cup League, all the inter-club leagues going on, all the other stuff going on. We have a lot of matches during the week, so the top guys used to play on tournaments. I mean, that's the main reason why the Winter League is what it is, because all the top guys were playing tournaments and they couldn't play on Saturday mornings. Well, those top guys don't play Saturday mornings anymore.
Right.
And you can still play your Montclair because you don't play on Saturdays either, by the way. But I hear you. Paul,
listen, it is what it is, and it'll be what it'll be, and I think everything will be great. Just my 2 cents. I'm a traditionalist. I love the way it is. I love the fact that we're done before Christmas, and then we can all just kind of do whatever we want afterwards. But
yeah,
whatever, it'll be good. I think whatever you decide, I think it's gonna be great, and I support you.
Yeah, I think obviously from this call, it doesn't look that positive that we would make this change. But I think if we did do it 10 years from now, people are like, this is great that we have all these matches. But I don't know.
I
trying to
agree.
be
I don't think
forward.
nobody's gonna look back on it. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Paul Lowe.
Hey Rob, I thank you also for all your efforts. I know how much time you put in it, and
you definitely
good
do.
job. Back to defaults, which was when I raised my hand. We have, slightly different situation than the state league because we have playoffs, and so in order to qualify to play in the playoffs, you have to play a certain number of matches. And so we don't allow the people who are listed in the matches to count that as a match toward qualifying if it was a default win or loss, right? You didn't really play a match, so that doesn't count. So the names in there don't really matter to us, and I've actually taken some names out. However, defaults are definitely a topic of discussion in the MIPL also. And one of the things we're considering over the summer, and certainly it's nowhere near any kind of action at this point, but our rules committee is going to look at the possibility of actually penalizing a club that takes a default loss. So right now, a default loss counts as 0. A default win counts as 1 point toward our playoffs. But we're considering perhaps putting in a negative 0.5 if you default a match. to try to encourage people to actually go out and play the matches. So again, I think that some other leagues do something like that. I'm not absolutely sure that. I haven't really done much research, but I did come across the ability for the website to support half points and perhaps negative half points. And so it's something we're going to explore.
Well, that would, wow, that would be very interesting to do. Never thought about that. I wonder how that will go over. Because there are times where you just default because shit happens, right? Some guy gets stuck in a business meeting, some stuck in traffic, and you just got default. But there are other times, you know, we're definitely, there's 3 teams from the fall league last year who had a significant number of defaults, and they won't have teams this year. But I think if you did have that negative half a point, they'd find people to play those matches too. You wouldn't have as many defaults as we've had. But if they find people that aren't that good and it's a 6-0-6-0, what's the point? I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Let me know where you guys go with that. Herbie, did you want to say something?
Yeah,
up?
just more of a question, Rob. By the way, this is very interesting information about defaults, and it's way above my pay scale. But it's kind of would be really cool to put some of that in place and see how it plays out. But my question about defaults was this year unusually higher than prior years with defaults? It seemed that way. But I don't know if it actually was that way. I was just curious if that had anything to do with mandating sort of a pre-play as opposed to allowing some post-play. Does any of that come into play? Could that be a factor of any of these defaults? Doesn't help you with the names or anything. I'm just kind of really more curious about how it played out.
Rich Ryan, he's still on the phone. He's our guy who does all that type of stuff. Anecdotally, I will say I don't think there were more defaults this year. I'm just trying to look at my spreadsheet while I do
Rob,
that.
I'm here.
Yeah,
I think there were a
please
few
jump
more.
in, please.
I think there were a few more, but it was largely, like you said, concentrated in more teams. And I think some of it may have been due to the no post play being allowed. But overall, we had tremendously positive feedback about that rule.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, just to make it clear, we will. I hate to say never, but I'm going to say never. We're never going back to post play.
Got it.
The amount of issues that we dealt with as a board went down dramatically because of no post play. Because post play, a lot of, as I say, shenanigans came into play with who was playing and all that stuff and stacking. That went all away with no post plays, and you know, we didn't have to rule on many things as a board, and I think a lot of it had to do with no post plays. So
good stuff. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Rob, just to get back to your question regarding names for defaults, my recollection going back years is that we did not put names in there.
Okay.
Yeah, that it was just the default, and that was it, and you won the match.
Yeah,
So,
I remember when I first joined, Billy Kloss telling me, "Oh yeah, no, you definitely have to do that." So I'm not sure if that was actually a rule or, I mean, it was a lot different world back then too. So
it was. You're right.
Yeah. Maybe it was a better world. I don't know.
No, I don't think so. It was simpler. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, it's you know, we have, like I said, almost 2,000 guys playing now. We have 160 teams in the League Classic. I mean, we got a lot of guys. We got to be. Unfortunately, we have to be a little more structured than we were a couple years ago. Well, I think we do. So that's the way we're doing it. So, all right. Anything else? Anything else? Anybody wants to talk about anything else while we're all here on a cool Tuesday
Rob?
night? Yeah.
Yeah, I just got one suggestion. Just throw against the wall for competitive in the Winter League. What if we shrunk the leagues down to, say, 5 teams and played home and away? That way you have a tighter grouping of teams. It'd be easier to make sure that you have more competitive matches. Just throwing that out there.
I like the idea of I like the idea of 8 teams in the division. I think 5's probably. I need to think about that. I think
Five
there's
is terrible. You have all sorts of buys. You want to go to 6, maybe, but not
yeah,
5.
you need it. Yes, you need it. Yes, I need.
home and away.
You definitely need an
Play
even.
everybody twice.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of benefit for having less teams in a division. I just need to think about how we implement something like that. That was one of the attractions I had about doing the 8 teams. The teams would be tighter. But 5.
Yeah, I mean,
6
I like
teams.
the home and away idea of the full season.
Yeah.
So thought maybe just adapt that for only the winter if we continue to stay with the winter. Just an idea.
Yeah, if you do 6 teams or something like that. If we did 8, I still do 8 teams. I don't know, something to think about. This is all, again, just trying to make the league better. That's all we're trying to do. So whether it's 8 teams, 10 teams, do what we're currently doing, change it up completely. We're just trying to make it better. And as you guys saw with the PTI, we put it in play. We got negative feedback. We stopped doing it. So we're happy to go back on changes that we make and suggestions that we make.
Any thoughts on use of PTI next year?
No, I think it worked pretty well this year. I mean, I'm happy to hear from people on that. We still calculate in the background. We still used it for the League Classic. I don't know what we would do without it in the League Classic. It makes it so much easier, and I think so much better to do it. But I think the PTI, is good to use as a guide for stacking, and I think people followed it pretty well. So I'm happy to receive feedback on that. But I thought it was pretty positive. We had a lot less headaches this year without mandating the use of PTI in lineups. I thought people behaved pretty well. But I'm happy to hear something different on that.
Does anyone who play in the MIPL have a comment on their stacking rule? Which I came across once. I don't have it in front of me, but it seemed pretty common sense.
I'll be happy to comment on it. We looked at it over the summer and considered changing it, but we had exactly the same rules last year and this year, which is for the top divisions, A through C, I think, just off the top of my head, they had 4 points of wiggle room. Wiggle room being they could play a team 4 points worse above another team without any pushback. And that spread went higher as you go down, 6 points in the middle and 8 points when you get all the way down to the bottom of the league. And actually in G, which is kind of an experimental league, just new guys primarily trying things out, where PTIs are really all over the board and get adjusted later in the season. All bets were off. It was just up to the captains to say this guy's playing better than that guy and line them up however they wanted to. But I think I think it went pretty well. We didn't have that many disputes, and I think everybody's kind of used to it in the MIPL.
Yeah, I just thought I saw something else like a 3-strike rule. Like if you play line 1 or line 2, a flight up, you can't play down, something like that.
That actually is an old rule. It's been in for a decade or so, and it was to prevent. It's trying to prevent stacking. All the rules, or many of the rules, are there just to try to prevent stacking. And with using PTI in the lineup, the 3-strike rule has actually come into question both last year and this year. And if you look at it, there's a carve out this year that if an older player, for example, is moving down and his PTI is not moving down quite as quick as his skills are, then there is a cutout where he can go down and play lower, even though he had 3 matches at a higher level.
I thought this year for our league went very well, and we're not looking to make any changes.
Ed Aversa here, Rob, just chiming in a little bit. I hate the PTI. I love what you did with it in the state league. I wish the MIPL would institute the same thing. I don't think there's any reason for it. I think the guys know their place, and if they don't, like you said, don't be that guy.
Eddie, let's just be clear. You don't hate anything. Come on.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, I hate the Islanders.
Okay. All right. We agree on that. Okay.
Anyway,
PTI is a lot. I don't want to get into PTI conversation, but it as an administrator, I guess that's what we are here. It really is helpful when we do tournaments and shit like that. So it put people in the right
I think
bucket. It works well, very
it's a
well
great,
there.
it's a great guide. I agree. It's a great
Yeah,
guide.
it's a great guide. And that's all it is. So
Thanks, Rob.
thank you. Great. Down to about half of what we had at our peak of people. So people are dropping off. It's time for cocktails, I guess. I see Rich Dadone's already got one, which is very nice. Making me thirsty. Anything else?
I'm number two, Rob.
I'm sorry.
I'm on number 2, so you better.
There you go.
I think
A
it's time to
Tuesday
say
night. I
goodbye.
love it. I love it on Tuesday night. Have two.
Doesn't
Just
matter
excited. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I just said it doesn't matter what night. So go ahead.
Very nice. Very nice. That's a varsity attitude. We haven't really announced this yet, but in 2026 we'll have the Nationals here in New Jersey. That will be exciting to do. We're going to have it probably in. Since I'm going to be looking after it, it's going to be probably in the Chatham area. So it should be very exciting, and a lot of the league money will be used to help that. And so thanks to everyone in the league for playing and being able to put on it. Hopefully, it'll be a great national event in 2026. So anybody has any interest in getting involved, let me know. And then after that, I'm out. So just to give everyone a heads up, there's my end date. And someone else can do this, but I'm happy to do it. And I appreciate, we've been on here now for an hour and 20 minutes. Great feedback. It's interesting. When we had a board meeting, we talked about this. Ara did a lot of good work. Ara's our representative from North Jersey, and he's very, he said his comments were consistent with what was said tonight. Everyone else everyone I talked to is 100% in favor for it. It's the only reason we went forward with it. But obviously on this call, there's a lot of different opinions than that. So we'll go back and regroup, and we'll let everyone know what we're doing. To Bill Meekham's point earlier, we can make decisions. No reason to prolong it, and we'll let people know sooner rather than later what to do. And then look forward to a good summer, and then we'll start up with the fall paddle again. If that's it, we'll shut things off. I'll shut off the recording. If anyone wants to